Grace and peace to you, church, and happy Wednesday. As always, thank you for taking the time to dwell in the Word and sing our hymn together with us today. A little bit of a weekly recap. I would like to thank everyone who participated in worship at the annual meeting last Sunday. Huge thanks to Pastor Natalie and Andy Walters for leading us in worship, and to our council members who have worked so very hard this past year on behalf of the Good Shepherd congregation, and for leading us both fiercely and graciously at this time of transition. I'd like to give a huge shout out to our former council president, Josh Stumpner, for his leadership, initiatives, and care for us all. Seriously, thank you, Josh. Our worship this coming Sunday will be lay-led. Tim Holcomb will be giving the message this week, and I personally look forward to hear Tim's take on this week's passages. Our choir and strummers are going to lead us in our morning prayer liturgy. We are also having a one-time clothing drive to fill the immediate need of the Open Doors Community Closet. Lori Parents will be here to share a little bit about the work that she does at the Open Door. And at this time, just so everybody knows, the Open Door has extended their roles to be one of the main providers for clothing items, as well as other supplies too, for community needs, such as the Catholic charities or those coming out of jail. So if you have gently used clothing items that you don't need anymore and can share, please bring them this Sunday, and we can share these blessings with others who need them. All right, so speaking of blessings, this week's gospel lessons is all about that. Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12 reads, "When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, 'Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you.'" And here end the gospel. So we often refer to this gospel passage as the Beatitudes. The name Beatitudes comes from the Latin beatitudo or beatus, because the first word of each statement in Latin is beati, which translates Matthew's Greek word makarios, or this traditionally translated in English as blessed. Out of curiosity, I did some survey of how this passage is translated in other Bibles. And some recent versions of the Bibles that we have in our church library, such as the Good News Bible or the Living Bible, translate makarios as happy, which I find interesting, especially because the way that we use those terms lately tends to trivialize the meaning by simply suggesting a temporary emotional or circumstantial state. The etymology of this word is very interesting too. Mak from makarios literally means become long and large. So you could also define this word as God making long or making large or extending his benefits. It's one of the Bible passages that I've always been most drawn to. I've dwelt in this passage quite a bit, and I can tell you that someone can probably write a multi-volume book to unpack this passage, and I'm sure people have. Since we already started talking about the use of language here, though, we'll go forward in that manner. And one thing that's always been intriguing to me is the usage of present and future tenses in the same passage and message. This is a mixture of what already is and what is yet to come. In the bookend of these statements, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, and blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. It appears that Jesus basically told his disciples that the kingdom of heaven is already theirs. There may be some foreshadowing here too, that maybe their spirit would at one point be deprived and that they would be persecuted for the right things that they did. Keep in mind also that the kingdom of heaven here is not just a place. It also is the ruling activity of the king, or it also means the ruling activity of the king. So when Jesus talked about the kingdom of heaven, he's probably also talking about the here and now, the place where God rules. Well, we live in a world where we associate blessedness or happiness for that matter with something positive according to the human perception. For example, we are blessed when we have good health, or we are happy when we're not starving. However, in this passage, Jesus seemed to challenge that thought a little bit, in that perhaps blessedness is more like a state of being and something that is promised for all of God's children, that we are blessed no matter what circumstances we face, because God is already extending his grace to us and making large of his benefits. Because of this grace, we already live within the kingdom of God, within this kingdom that God rules. And perhaps we can fully share God's blessings to others around us. Not to earn God's grace, but as a reflection of God's grace that's already ours. So with that in mind, let us sing together our gospel canticle for this Sunday.
Blessed be the God of Israel, who saves and sets us free. From David's house a Savior comes to end all tyranny. The prophets said that God would come and shatter hatred's might. The promise made to Abraham fulfilled within our sight. God's mighty arm shall set us free to worship without fear. So God and righteous we might be, and faithfully to you. O child, you shall prepare the way, God's prophet you shall be, and speak salvation's healing word, God's wondrous joy.